Welcome back to CMA USA Exam Coach, your study companion. In the last episode, we discussed professional ethics. Today, we are going to continue with our next topic under ethics, organizational ethics. Organizational ethics simply means the set of moral values, principles, and standards that guide the behavior of an organization as a whole. It focuses on how a company and its people make decisions, interact with others, and conduct business in an honest and responsible way. In this episode, we'll discuss organizational ethics in detail and understand how it shapes the overall ethical culture within a company. Let's begin.
Now, let's understand organizational ethics a little deeper. Organizational ethics refers to how an organization as a whole behaves. It is not just about written policies or rules, but how those rules are practiced every day by everyone in the company. Every organization has a responsibility for the conduct of its members. This means that the company is accountable for how its employees act while representing the organization. For example, if employees deal honestly with customers, respect laws, and follow ethical practices, it builds a strong reputation for the company. But if employees behave unethically, such as hiding information, mistreating others, or breaking rules, it damages the organization's image and trust in the market. The individual behavior of every employee, from top management to the frontline workers, plays a major role in shaping the company's reputation. The actions of leaders set the tone for everyone else. If the management acts ethically, employees are more likely to follow that example. But if leaders behave dishonestly, that attitude can spread across the entire organization. For example, think of a company where managers are transparent and fair with their teams. Employees in that company will also tend to act fairly and responsibly. But if managers are involved in shortcuts or unfair treatment, employees may start doing the same. So, organizational ethics starts with individual ethics. Together, they create the organization's moral image and trustworthiness. Now, let's talk about the core values of an organization. Core values are the deeply ingrained principles that guide all actions and decisions within a company. You can think of them as the moral foundation or compass of the organization. They define what the company truly stands for and how it behaves with employees, customers, and society. These values are not just words written in a company policy or posted on a wall. They are meant to be lived and practiced every single day by everyone in the organization, from top management to the newest employee. When a company truly follows its core values, it builds trust, loyalty, and a strong reputation. There are three basic core values we'll focus on: transparency, sustainability, and responsibility. Let's start with transparency. Transparency means being open and honest in all communications and actions. For example, when a company clearly shares its financial results, admits its mistakes, or explains why a certain decision was made, it shows transparency. A company like this earns the trust of its employees and customers because people know that it is not hiding anything. The second is sustainability. Sustainability means conducting business in a way that does not harm the future. It's about using resources wisely and protecting the environment for the next generations. For instance, a company that reduces plastic use, recycles waste, or invests in renewable energy is practicing sustainability. These actions show that the company is not only thinking about profit today, but also caring for the future. And the third is responsibility. Responsibility means being committed to integrity and social responsibility. It's about doing what is right, even when it's difficult. For example, a responsible company ensures its employees work in safe conditions, pays fair wages, and respects all laws and regulations. It also supports the community, maybe through charity work or by helping during difficult times. This shows that the company values people, not just profits. So, students, these core values, transparency, sustainability, and responsibility, together create the ethical foundation of any organization. When these values are practiced sincerely, they help the organization make fair decisions, gain public trust, and build long-term success. Now, let's move on to a very important concept: corporate culture and how it plays a role in ethical decision-making. So, what exactly is corporate culture? In simple terms, corporate culture means the shared values, beliefs, and behaviors that define how people in an organization interact and make decisions. It's like the personality of the company, the invisible force that shapes how everyone works together and what is considered right or wrong inside that organization. Think about it like this. When you join a company, you slowly start to notice how people behave, how managers treat their teams, and how decisions are made. You learn what kind of behavior is appreciated and what is not. All of that is part of the company's culture. Corporate culture gives employees a sense of how things are done, what's acceptable, and what's not. It sets general rules of behavior without needing to write them all down. For example, in some organizations, employees are encouraged to speak up and share new ideas. In others, people might feel it's safer to just follow instructions quietly. Both are reflections of the company's culture. An important point to remember is that culture is not built overnight. It develops slowly over time, through the actions of leaders, the decisions the company makes, and the way employees are treated. Once established, it tends to be quite stable and long-lasting. Now, when it comes to ethical decision-making, corporate culture plays a huge role. If a company's culture strongly supports honesty, fairness, and respect, then employees will feel confident to make ethical choices. But if the culture only focuses on profits or rewards those who bend the rules, employees might feel pressured to make unethical decisions. For example, imagine two companies. In the first one, the manager praises employees who meet targets by cheating or hiding information. In the second company, the manager appreciates honesty and encourages transparency, even if the results are not perfect. Over time, the first company's culture becomes unethical, while the second builds a culture of integrity and trust. So, students, remember this. A positive and ethical corporate culture is one of the strongest protections an organization can have. It guides people to make the right decisions, even when no one is watching, and helps build a reputation that lasts for years. Now let's explore the 3 key elements that are necessary for building an ethical corporate culture. These are the main foundations that help an organization stay honest, responsible, and respected in the long run. First, it's important to understand that it is the organization's responsibility to create and define ethical standards of behavior. Ethics should not be left to chance or personal opinion. Every company must clearly communicate what is considered right and wrong and make sure everyone follows it consistently. Let's now look at the 3 essential elements one by one. The first element is ethical leadership. Ethical leadership starts from the very top, from the board of directors, senior executives, and managers. They are the role models for everyone else in the organization. Employees always observe how their leaders behave, not just what they say. If leaders act honestly, treat others fairly, and make transparent decisions, employees will naturally follow that example. For instance, if a manager always takes responsibility for mistakes and encourages employees to report issues honestly, it sends a powerful message that ethics matter. But if leaders ignore ethical rules or act selfishly, that same attitude spreads throughout the company. So ethical leadership truly sets the tone for the entire organization. The second element is a set of core ethical values. These values serve as the company's moral compass, guiding how decisions are made and how people are treated. The most important core values are transparency, sustainability, and responsibility. Transparency means being open and honest in all actions and communications. Sustainability means thinking about the long-term impact, not just profits today, but also future generations. And responsibility means being accountable for one's actions and committed to doing what's right, even when it's difficult. These values form the heart of an ethical culture. The third element is a formal ethics program. Even with good leadership and strong values, employees still need clear guidance. That's where a formal ethics program comes in. It usually includes a code of ethics, which explains expected behaviors, training programs, which help employees handle real-life ethical situations, and clear policies and procedures to follow. Some organizations even appoint an ethics officer to oversee these efforts and ensure compliance. Such programs are not just for formality. They help employees understand what's expected, where to report issues, and how to make ethical decisions confidently. Over time, these programs strengthen trust and create a consistent culture of integrity. So to summarize, ethical corporate culture is built on three key pillars: ethical leadership that leads by example, strong core values that guide decisions, and a formal ethics program that provides structure and support. Together, these create an environment where ethics are not just words, but a way of life in the organization. Now, let's talk about why an ethics-based organizational culture is so important. Creating a culture where ethical behavior is valued doesn't just make the company feel good. It has real, measurable benefits for both the organization and its employees. The first benefit is higher-level productivity. When employees trust that the organization is fair and ethical, they feel secure and motivated. They don't waste time worrying about unfair treatment or hiding mistakes. For example, in a company where employees know promotions are based on merit and not favoritism, everyone works harder and more efficiently. The second benefit is better teamwork. Ethical organizations promote fairness, respect, and collaboration. When employees feel safe and valued, they are more likely to support each other and share knowledge. For instance, in a project team, if everyone knows that their contributions will be recognized honestly, they are more willing to collaborate rather than compete unethically. The third benefit is less fraud. When the culture promotes honesty, transparency, and accountability, employees are less likely to engage in fraudulent behavior. Strong ethical culture, combined with clear policies and leadership, acts as a preventive measure against misconduct. The fourth benefit is high quality of services. Employees who act ethically focus on providing value rather than cutting corners. For example, in a service company, an employee who follows ethical guidelines ensures clients receive accurate information and dependable service. This builds long-term trust with customers. Finally, an ethics-based culture leads to improved financial performance. Studies have shown that companies with strong ethical cultures tend to have fewer legal issues, higher employee retention, and better customer loyalty. All of these factors contribute to stable and sustainable profits over time. In short, ethics is not just a moral choice, it's a strategic advantage. Companies that promote an ethical culture enjoy motivated employees, strong teamwork, reduced risk of fraud, high-quality services, and better financial results. Ethical behavior pays off, not just for society, but for the company itself. Now, let's discuss the importance of a code of ethics in an organization. A code of ethics is a formal document that defines the company's expectations for behavior and decision-making. It serves as a guide for employees at all levels and helps create a consistent ethical culture. First, senior management is required to clearly define and document what they expect from the organization. This ensures that everyone, from top executives to frontline employees, understands what is considered acceptable behavior. The Code of Ethics acts as a reference point, providing clear guidance on how to handle ethical dilemmas and make decisions that align with the company's values. Second, the Code of Ethics provides a structured framework for decision-making. Employees can refer to it whenever they face uncertain situations, such as conflicts of interest, reporting misconduct, or handling confidential information. It helps them determine the right course of action and reduces the chances of unethical behavior. Third, the Code of Ethics also ensures compliance with relevant legislation. In the United States, for example, it aligns with requirements under the Sarbanes-Oxley Act and SEC regulations, which mandate that organizations establish clear ethical guidelines to prevent fraud and protect stakeholders. Finally, it's important to remember that no single code of ethics can cover every possible situation an employee may encounter. Life and business can be unpredictable, and unique circumstances may arise. However, having general guidelines in place helps employees think critically about whether a particular action or behavior is right or wrong. It provides a strong foundation for ethical decision-making and reinforces the organization's commitment to integrity, fairness, and responsibility. Now, students, let's understand what the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, or SOX, actually is. The Sarbanes-Oxley Act was passed in the United States in 2002 in response to major corporate scandals like Enron and WorldCom, where companies misreported financial information, hid losses, and engaged in fraudulent activities. These scandals caused huge losses for investors and shook public trust in financial markets. SOX was designed to restore confidence by improving corporate governance, financial transparency, and accountability. SOX introduced strict rules for public companies, focusing on areas such as financial reporting, internal controls, and corporate ethics. One of the key sections of SOX is Section 406, which deals with the Code of Ethics for senior executives. This section ensures that companies have clear ethical guidelines for top-level management, such as the CEO, CFO, and accounting officers. Section 406 requires companies to disclose whether they have a code of ethics for their executives, any waivers or exceptions to the code of ethics for these executives, any changes made to the code of ethics. If a company does not have a code, it must explain why it hasn't adopted one. All of this information must be publicly available, usually posted on the company's website. This ensures transparency and allows investors and the public to know that the company is committed to ethical practices at the highest level. For example, imagine a publicly traded company like Apple. If Apple makes a change to its executive code of ethics, maybe updating rules on reporting conflicts of interest, Section 406 requires Apple to disclose this change on its website. Similarly, if a CEO is granted a temporary waiver to the code in a specific situation, this too must be disclosed. The goal is to make sure top management cannot bypass ethical standards without public awareness. In short, the Sarbanes-Oxley Act ensures that companies are accountable, transparent, and ethical, especially at the top levels. Section 406 specifically makes sure that executives' behavior is aligned with the company's ethical standards, protecting investors and maintaining trust in financial markets. Now, let's clearly understand what a code of ethics actually means. A code of ethics is essentially a written set of standards created by an organization to guide the behavior of its employees, managers, and executives. It acts as a roadmap for making ethical decisions and ensures that everyone in the company knows what is expected of them. The purpose of a code of ethics is to promote three main things. First, honest and ethical conduct. Employees and executives are expected to act with integrity in every situation. This means being truthful, fair, and transparent in all dealings, whether with colleagues, customers, or external stakeholders. Second, complete, accurate, and timely submission of information. This ensures that financial statements, reports, and any other important information are prepared correctly and submitted on time. For example, accounting or financial officers must provide reports that reflect the true financial position of the company without hiding errors or inflating results. Third, compliance with rules and regulations. Every organization operates under various laws, regulations, and internal policies. A code of ethics reminds employees that following these rules is not optional, it is essential. For instance, publicly traded companies must follow SEC regulations, and failure to comply can result in penalties or legal action. In short, a code of ethics is more than just words on paper. It is a guide that promotes honesty, accuracy, and compliance, helping employees make the right decisions even in challenging situations. It builds trust, ensures accountability, and strengthens the organization's reputation in the long term. Now, students, let's talk about something that affects how people behave at work: peer pressure. Peer pressure is the influence that comes from the people around you at work, such as your colleagues, managers, or professional groups. Sometimes this influence can affect your decisions and behavior, even if it's not the right choice. One way peer pressure can be harmful is something called groupthink. Groupthink happens when a group of people tries too hard to agree with each other. Instead of thinking carefully about a decision, everyone just goes along with the majority to avoid conflict. This can lead to poor choices and unethical behavior. Some signs of groupthink are excessive optimism. People assume nothing bad will happen. Blind agreement. People follow decisions without questioning them. For example, imagine a team deciding to approve a risky project because the manager supports it. Even if some team members have doubts, they stay quiet to keep the team happy. That's groupthink. How can we avoid it? Encourage everyone to share their own ideas, even if they disagree with the majority. Don't just follow decisions made by senior management without thinking. Invite an outside expert to give a fresh perspective. On the positive side, diversity of thought can make teams stronger. When people with different backgrounds, experiences, and ideas work together, they bring new ways of thinking. This helps the team make better and more ethical decisions. For example, a team with members from finance, marketing, and operations can look at a problem from different angles. Each person contributes their own ideas, which can lead to creative and fair solutions. In this way, diversity of thought reduces the negative effects of peer pressure and helps the organization make better decisions. So, students, the key point is that peer pressure can either lead to poor decisions if everyone just follows the crowd, or it can be positive if the organization encourages different ideas and independent thinking. Now let's move on to an important topic: the influence of government and regulations on ethical business, and specifically, let's talk about the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, or simply the FCPA. In every country, the government plays a key role in ensuring that businesses act ethically and fairly. Without regulations, some companies might try to gain an unfair advantage by using unethical or illegal methods, such as bribery or false reporting. To prevent this kind of misconduct, laws like the FCPA were created. The Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, or FCPA, was first introduced in the United States in 1977. It was developed after investigations showed that many American companies were making illegal payments, or bribes, to foreign officials in order to win business deals. This act was then revised in 1988 and later amended in 1998 through something called the International Anti-Bribery and Fair Competition Act, which made the law even stronger and aligned it with international standards. The FCPA has two main parts, or what we call two key provisions. The first focuses on preventing bribery of foreign government officials. That means a company cannot give money, gifts, or any kind of benefit to influence a foreign official's decisions. The second part deals with accurate financial reporting and proper record-keeping. Companies must keep their books and accounts clear, honest, and transparent, so that no illegal transactions can be hidden. In short, the FCPA is a law designed to make sure companies stay honest, both in their financial reporting and in how they do business globally. It protects the reputation of companies, ensures fair competition, and builds trust in international markets. Now, let's discuss the first part of the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, called the Anti-Bribery Provision. This provision clearly says that companies or individuals cannot give money, gifts, or anything of value to foreign officials, politicians, or political parties to win or keep business. The idea is simple. Business success should come from quality work, not illegal payments. The law applies to three groups: companies listed with the SEC, U.S. citizens or residents, called domestic concerns, and any other person or company acting within the U.S. There is one small exception. The FCPA allows facilitating payments, which are tiny payments made to speed up routine government actions, like processing paperwork. These are not meant to gain an unfair advantage, just to get normal procedures done faster. In short, the anti-bribery provision prevents companies from bribing foreign officials and ensures business is conducted fairly and ethically. Now let's move to the second part of the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, the accounting provision. While the first part, the anti-bribery provision, prevents companies from giving illegal payments to foreign officials. The accounting provision focuses on detecting and preventing improper payments through accurate financial records. The FCPA created two important accounting rules for companies. First, companies must maintain complete, accurate, and reliable accounting records. This means all transactions, payments, and financial activities should be properly recorded so that nothing is hidden or misrepresented. For example, if a company makes a payment to a foreign supplier, it must clearly show the purpose and details of that payment in its books. Second, companies must have a system of internal accounting controls. These controls provide reasonable assurance that the company's assets and transactions are managed correctly. Specifically, the system should ensure that all transactions are executed with proper management authorization. Access to assets, such as cash or inventory, is limited only to authorized personnel. Assets are monitored, counted, reconciled regularly, and all transactions are recorded accurately. It's important to note that unlike the anti-bribery provision, these accounting rules do not apply to private companies that do not report to the section. They are mainly designed to protect investors in publicly traded companies by ensuring transparency and preventing fraud. In short, the FCPA's accounting provision ensures that companies keep honest financial records and maintain proper internal controls, which helps prevent bribery and unethical financial practices. Now, let's talk about another important law that affects ethical business globally, the UK Bribery Act of 2010. The UK Bribery Act defines bribery very clearly. It says that bribery happens when someone gives a financial or any other kind of advantage to another person in order to make them perform their duties improperly. In simple words, it's offering money, gifts, or favors to influence someone to act unfairly or break the rules. This law is very broad. It applies not only to British residents and businesses, but also to foreign companies that operate in the UK. That means even if a company is based in another country, it can still be held legally responsible if it engages in bribery while doing business in the UK. The UK Bribery Act is designed to promote fairness, transparency, and ethical conduct in business, and it has strict penalties for violations. Companies must have policies and training in place to make sure employees understand what is allowed and what is not. In short, the UK Bribery Act ensures that everyone, local or foreign, follows ethical business practices and discourages any attempt to gain unfair advantage through bribery. Now, students, let's compare the U.S. Foreign Corrupt Practices Act (FCPA) and the UK Bribery Act so we can understand the key differences. The first difference is who the law applies to. The U.S. FCPA mainly focuses on bribery involving foreign government officials. This means the law is concerned with preventing companies from paying foreign officials to gain or maintain business. On the other hand, the UK Bribery Act is broader. It applies to bribery involving both government officials and private business people. So, even bribing someone in a private company can be considered illegal under the UK law. The second difference is about exceptions. The US FCPA allows what is called facilitating payments, small payments made to speed up routine government actions, like getting paperwork processed faster. The UK Bribery Act, however, does not allow any exceptions. Even small payments for routine services can be considered bribery under UK law. In short, the FCPA is narrower in scope and allows minor facilitating payments, while the UK Bribery Act is broader and stricter, covering both public and private bribery with no exceptions. Understanding these differences is important for companies operating internationally so they can comply with the correct regulations and avoid serious legal penalties. Now, students, let's move to an important topic that connects ethics with long-term business practices: sustainability and social responsibility. First, what is sustainability? Simply put, sustainability means meeting the needs of the present generation without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. In other words, it's about making decisions today that do not harm the environment, society, or economy for tomorrow. Sustainability can be understood through three main spheres. The first is economic sustainability, which focuses on profit. This means the firm must generate financial income and build assets in a way that ensures long-term financial stability. A business cannot survive or help society if it is not economically sustainable. The second is social sustainability, which is about people. It focuses on improving the quality of life, ensuring fairness, equity, and well-being among employees, communities, and even nations. For example, a company may invest in fair wages, education programs, or community development projects. The third is environmental sustainability, which focuses on the planet and preserving resources for future generations. This means protecting natural resources like forests, water, soil, and air, so they remain available and healthy for the next generation. Companies can do this by reducing waste, recycling materials, conserving water, using renewable energy like solar or wind, and reducing harmful emissions to keep the air clean. For example, an organization may treat wastewater before releasing it into rivers, switch to electric vehicles to reduce air pollution, or plant trees to offset carbon emissions. By taking these actions, we help maintain a balance in nature so that future generations can also meet their needs, enjoy clean water and air, and live in a healthy environment. In short, sustainability is about balancing profit, people, and the planet, ensuring that businesses can thrive financially while being socially responsible and environmentally conscious. When organizations focus on all three spheres, they create a stronger, ethical, and long-term positive impact on society. Now, students, let's go deeper into social responsibility. Social responsibility means that decision-makers in an organization have an obligation to take actions that protect and improve the welfare of society, while also considering the interests of the business itself. In other words, companies should not focus solely on profits. They must also care about people, communities, and the environment. One of the most widely used ways to understand corporate social responsibility, or CSR, comes from Archie B. Carroll, who defined it in 4 levels. Let's discuss each of them carefully. The first level is economic responsibility. This is the foundation of CSR. Every business must produce goods or services that provide profit. Profit is essential for survival and growth. Without a strong economic base, a company cannot support other responsibilities. The second level is legal responsibility. Businesses must comply with the laws of the country where they operate. This ensures that the company respects society's rules and regulations, such as labor laws, environmental laws, and tax obligations. The third level is ethical responsibility. This is about doing what is right even when the law does not require it. Ethical responsibilities relate to standards and practices that society expects or prohibits. For example, treating employees fairly, avoiding exploitation, and conducting business honestly are ethical responsibilities. The fourth level is philanthropic responsibility, also called discretionary responsibility. This is voluntary. Companies choose to give back to society beyond what is required by law or ethics. This can include donations, charitable programs, corporate volunteering, or providing products or services to those in need. In summary, students, CSR is about balancing these 4 levels. A responsible company earns profits, follows the law, behaves ethically, and voluntarily contributes to society. By doing this, businesses not only help communities and the environment, but also build a strong reputation and long-term success.
Thank you for watching this episode. We will continue in the next episode. As you know, this section is fully theory-based, so it's important to watch the episode again and prepare your notes carefully. Make sure you understand each concept clearly, as these ideas form the foundation for ethical and responsible business practices. See you in the next episode.